Hello, Ellie here with my sidekick, Dobby. And today we are talking about On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. If you watched my Dobby Chooses My Next TBR video, you will see that this is the book that Dobby actually chose for me to read as my next book. And I read it, and it was phenomenal. This is by the same author as The Hate You Give, which was my #1 book of 2017. I believe that's the year it came out. This was by far my favorite book. I was asking every single person to read it. Anybody that asked me for a book recommendation, I practically threw this at them. It was so good and amazing. So when I heard she was writing another book, I was like, obviously, I have to read it. On the Come Up takes place in the same town area as The Hate You Give. This one follows a girl named Bree who just wants to be a rapper in a world of men owning that area, basically. So Bree is up against a world that treats her like trash and an industry that doesn't think she has what it takes. She, like Star from The Hate You Give, goes to a mostly white school. She, however, is one of a group of people that are bused to the area where the school is, and there are a couple like campus police. I don't think they're technically police, but guards types that search them as they walk in, and they always tend to double search the people of color way more than the white kids. So this is kind of what she's put up with. Without really going into spoilers, something happens and she ends up being a target, and it kind of throws her life off, and she decides to rap about it. And yeah, I'm not really going to get into more because everything is a spoiler from there pretty much. Star has two best friends, both boys, Sunny, and I don't know if it's pronounced Malik or Malik. I meant to pay more attention. I got a chance to see Angie Thomas the other day, and she said their names at one point, but it was like really fast, and I didn't catch which was the pronunciation. But I think it's Malik, even though I kept saying Malik, but I feel like Malik would be spelled differently, so I feel like it was Malik. But anyway, those are her two best friends, and it's definitely interesting to see how their relationship grows and changes in different ways. And I mean, they're high school kids, so they're trying to figure out who they are and how they fit in with the people around them. On Goodreads, I said 4.5 stars, not as life-changing as The Hate You Give, but still real and an important perspective. I love that it's challenging stereotypes while embracing where they came from. It's challenging assumptions as well as those who play into them. Loved it. So yeah, that's basically my feeling. So she's obviously like a hip-hop rapper in this, and she is rapping about things that you would expect somebody in that area to be talking about, but the whole point of it is she's trying to challenge it and saying, this is what you assume of me, but it's not who I am. But of course, it's misunderstood, and there's a whole thing there. So I really did like it. I loved the message. I honestly don't think I would have picked this one up had I not read and been obsessed with The Hate You Give, just because I've never been into hip-hop and rap and all of that. So the synopsis of somebody trying to make it in that world wouldn't have really stood out to me. However, with that said, I still really loved this. I loved her point of view. I got to see some of Angie Thomas's rap skills because she actually was a teenage rapper, and that was really cool. So yeah, definitely read it. If you liked The Hate You Give, definitely read it. If you have any interest in like the world of hip-hop, their rap, definitely read it. And if not, still read it because it was still really good. I'm going to give my official spoiler warning now. If you have not read the book, please go away and come back once you have, okay? Okay, bye if you haven't read it. Alright, unfortunately, it's been a little while since I read this. I've read like 2 other books Since this one, I finished it the very beginning of my spring break when I couldn't video because I was away. And I read other books over spring break, so there are other things in my mind, but I will talk about what I can remember. One thing that I found very interesting was the whole fact that, like, the whole point of the song. Because, yeah, she's rapping about pointing guns at people. I get that the whole point of it is that's what they expect me to be doing, but that's not who I am. But, like, how often do people really listen to the entire song on the radio and, like, take the message of the whole thing? I'm sorry, but, like, it took me years to realize what some super famous songs from 15 years ago are really about. And I always talk to people, I like Pina Coladas and Getting Caught in the Rain. Like, every time I hear that song, I turn to whoever I'm with and I'm like, have you ever really listened to the song? Do you know what it's actually about? And they are shocked when I tell them. Because nobody really pays attention to the whole song. They get bits and pieces and make an assumption of what the song is about. So, while I get the whole point, I also definitely get the side of, like, but she's singing and she's having little kids sing about, like, pointing guns at people. I found that a very interesting debate because I definitely saw both sides of it. I saw her side, but I think I was kind of like Malik. Malik was my boy here. He kind of really said what I was thinking with that one. He understood what she was saying, but he knew that other people wouldn't. And I think that's what her mom was kind of saying too. Speaking of Malik, the romance in this was fascinating. Obviously, there's her thing for Malik that I was so rooting for at the beginning. But then she's like flirting with Curtis, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cute, and like hated each other, but now maybe kind of rivals making it work type of thing, which I've always liked. And then, of course, she has her moment with Malik, and they kiss, and they're both just like, that wasn't great. And I was like, go to Curtis, go on, go to Curtis. It's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And then it did, and it was adorable, and I do like, he supported her the whole time and, like, got it right away, but I do think Malik was really important. The way he questioned her and said, like, this isn't who you are, and made her think about how other people would see her because of it, I think that was very, very important, and somebody her age needed to do that. It couldn't just be everybody her age being like, this is great, because let's face it, teenagers often listen to their peers more than their elders. So all of the elders in the world could have been saying, this is bad, but until somebody her age says it, she's not going to listen. But she did listen to Malik more. Then there's the whole thing with, like, her being jealous of Sunny and Malik, like, hanging out without her, which not much really came of that part, I feel like. They did eventually, like, let her in, and I think it was established that I guess it wasn't that big of a deal. The part about her aunt was interesting, obviously. The fact that she got into the gang because of her brother-in-law, but then got, like, really into it. So the whole time, Supreme, I did not trust Supreme at all. I kept expecting him to turn around and do something crazy and turn his back on Bree, and he actually never did, which I found surprising. But I guess their relationship was mutually beneficial, so why would he? The whole part about the guards, that was ridiculous. Why the heck were they back at school? But, they also shouldn't have gotten violent. Oh my god, that whole thing. Whew, that was hard to read about. And just, like, anything having to do with race is, like, you just know that terrible things are going to happen purely because of ignorance. And it's so frustrating, even when you know it's coming, when it actually does. Like, everything that people were posting about, like, well, I heard that they caught a drug dealer. No, they didn't. They caught a snack dealer. Snacks. And yeah, she was breaking the rules by selling snacks. Not the law, the rules. But Definitely just didn't deserve to be thrown on the ground for that. Family. Her whole storyline with her mother was fascinating and very different than anything I experienced in life for sure. So her mom, after her father died, her mom left her at her grandparents' house and went and just like let herself go and got into drugs, and that was kind of it. And then she finally came back into her life, and Bree at this point had grown up so much in that time and didn't really know her mother anymore, so she called her by her name. And her brother was always correcting her because her brother, I guess, was older when all of this went down and like knew his mom as his mom. So it kind of hurt him every time she said Jay instead of mom, and Trey would always correct her. By the way, the names Jay and Trey, which I both think of as male, I kept confusing them. Like anytime it said Jay, I was thinking, oh, brother. But no, that was Trey. So that was a little confusing. Like, don't have family members with rhyming names. I think it's also partly just I'm not used to people calling their mothers by their names, so maybe that's what made it so confusing for me. And then there was this ongoing thing between the grandparents and the mom, where the grandparents never thought, well, the grandmother in particular, never thought the mom was good enough to take care of them. And because of that, the mom had animosity towards the grandmother because she was constantly judging her and talking with the church people about it. And then there was this whole thing about her mom losing her job and not being able to do anything. And I love how upfront her mom was all the time. Like, when they were talking to the superintendent, she flat out said, just so you know, there's a period of time I wasn't working because I was on drugs. And I'm clean now, and I've been working really hard. I loved that interaction, and I loved that the superintendent was just like, good for you, I've actually been there. And it worked out. Yay! And then, in the end, there's a compromise between the families where they're all going to go live with the grandparents for a bit and be one big happy family and everybody's getting along, and it really looks like things are going to be changing for the better. I also kind of like that it did not end with Bree, like, becoming this huge star and, like, being super successful and that's the end of it, because, first of all, it doesn't happen like that. Second of all, like, it leaves a little bit of room for, like, a what's gonna happen type of feel. And she does need to, like, make it her own way. I think instant success usually isn't good for anybody. And I think that the slow process that she looks like she's now gonna try to go for is definitely going to be beneficial for her in the long run to really earn her place. Like I said, I read this a while ago, so I unfortunately don't remember much more than that, but I really did like it. Like I said, 4.5 stars. I did end up rounding down just because I, like, couldn't quite compare it to The Hate U Give, which was, like, my big 5-star one. Oh, I went to see Angie Thomas for the second time this week, so both of my books are signed. They were both signed at different times, actually. I also know that she is working on her third book, which is set in the same neighborhood as these two. She says that this will probably be the last one set in that neighborhood, and it is about somebody that we might already know. And that's all I know. That is all. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at ReaderGonnaRead, just like my YouTube channel, and subscribe by clicking down below or up there. Please leave me comments, and I will talk to you next time. Bye! You can't stop me on the come up. You can't stop me on the come up. Hey, Ellie and Dobby here. Like the video? Come subscribe. Do it right now. Click it.